This video is going to be about single military pay and how much you make in the military before you run off and marry a stripper, as well as some common spending mistakes and traps to avoid to help you set yourself up for success in that first 4 years in service. So let's dig in. Okay, first off, some common ways that service members spend money. The very first is eating out. And I know you're like, oh yeah, well, everybody has to eat. Yeah, but I mean like not eating at the DFAC or the chow hall, right? Like if you're living in the barracks and you have access to eat at the chow hall, you should go eat at the chow hall, because while it may not always be the best food, I get that. I'm not trying to argue that like a steakhouse, Ruth's Chris steak is going to be better than chow hall breakfast. It is, for the most part, fairly healthy. Like you go get the omelet, you just handmade, you're like, oh, omelet line, like eggs and ham and cheese and whatever, some veggies, boom, not an unhealthy meal. And it's already cut into your pay. So now you can save all the money you might have spent eating out because you're eating at the chow hall that's already deducted from your pay. And until you start getting paid to get take home for food, like the chow hall is your best friend. That is like the simplest hack for your finances. Number 2 is excessive alcohol consumption. Now, not necessarily drinking the alcohol, but buying the alcohol. So, I mean, you could just be the mooch who just doesn't buy the alcohol. Like you got a bunch of friends who party, you can be the guy who kind of plays down like, I don't really know if I want to party. Maybe I'll DD. And then they're like, oh, come on, Dave, drink, have a drink. And then you're like drinking for free. Not a problem. Also, don't drink underage, don't DUI, don't do all those things. It's not good for your finances or your life. But, just make good decisions and maybe you get other people to buy your drinks. Or life hack, if you're just like, I want to go out because I like being around people, then yeah, offer to DD, maybe even drive one of your buddy's friends or have them pay for gas so that it costs you nothing to DD. And almost every bar out there, well, they'll all give you water, but most of them will give you free soft drinks and whatever if you're a DD. And so you can still look like you have a cocktail or a drink, even though you don't, and you can still blend in and have a good time while being the DD. You can probably get your friends to cover your food. You can make it like a fun night where they're being idiots. You get to make sure they all get home safe, which is great. A lot of times that actually works out better for you if you're trying to meet somebody, at the bar, because you can have a conversation. You're making an idiot of yourself. But also, like, it's going to help your budget. You don't need to buy a bunch of unnecessary crap. I'm not opposed to like go buy an Xbox or whatever, but like don't add recurring expenses. So like if you want to buy something like whatever, you want to buy yourself a toy or something, great. But don't buy yourself into recurring monthly expenses, i.e. an overpriced car you don't need when you could have a more affordable car or just not a car right off the bat. And that's a monthly recurring expense that you may not need. Oh yeah, the next note I had was buying an expensive car. So I've got videos on how to buy a car like used and smart, so go check those out. I joked about marrying a stripper earlier, but yeah, spending money at strip clubs or out just doing stupid like that is just a surefire way to burn money that I do not recommend. And then of course, impulse spending, impulse buying, Amazon, whatever, like going shopping when you don't need to and buying things you didn't plan to, all ways that you can blow money you didn't need to. So I love, and I've got videos on budgeting, but I love the whole pay yourself first mentality, where you set aside money every month that's going to be saved and invested. And then whatever's left over, you can absolutely spend because you already spent money saving and investing on your future. And so you're taking care of yourself first. All right, so real quick, we're going to break down an E3 pay. Now, this is at 3 years. I just kind of took the average of where you'll be in that 4 years, right? And we're just trying to come up with some easy math. So $3,081 a month right now is the base pay for an E3 at 3 years. And then your BAS or food allowance is $465 a month, which again is automatically taken out if you're eating at the chow hall. If you are on Comrats or whatever where you're getting that, then sure, you can eat, use that $465 to budget and eat in grocery stores and on base. The commissary are going to be your best friend. But if that's coming out of your paycheck to go to the chow hall, then go eat at the chow hall. Now, depending on your branch of service, you're going to get between $400 and $800 every year for clothing. So that comes out to about $50 a month. We just took that 600 number in the middle, and I'm going to just add that into your pay, but it really just comes up on your annual, your anniversary in the service. If you're eligible for BAH, you're going to be at $918 as a single person on the low end, $984 where I live in Missouri, all the way up to just over $4,500 if you were in like San Francisco now. If you're getting BAH as a single E3, then, you're kind of an anomaly, but it's great. And if you are, then in that case, I would check out some of my videos on house hacking and how to use your VA, how to leverage your VA loan to really start building wealth, because that can absolutely change the trajectory of your life. But most of us are probably not getting BAH as an E3, so that's just a you know, it's good to know, but it probably doesn't apply here. Now, you might get between $0 and $500 a month as a cost of living allowance, like if you're in New York City or stationed Hawaii or whatever, but we're not going to factor that in for the sake of this video because I want this to be kind of a generic number. So that means that your net pay is right at $3,596.77 per month. And then we're going to take out a couple of deductions that you're going to have to deal with. You're going to have 6.2% go to Social Security and 1.45% go to Medicare. Those are just gonna happen. So that's $191 and $44, both with some change that'll come out of your paycheck. And then you're also gonna have 5 cents for every $1,000 in coverage come out for your SGLI. So now that that's a $500,000 life insurance policy, that means that you'll be at most $25 a month, plus an extra dollar for trauma coverage. And so 26 bucks a month gets you a $500,000 in coverage from your SGLI, which honestly is amazing. I pay more than double that for my own, and most people pay even more than that. I've got a really good rate. And so 26 bucks for a $500,000 in term life insurance coverage while you're serving is really good. We take all that out and you're at $1,667.54 per every 2 weeks per pay period, which comes out to roughly $20.84 an hour. Now, I know some of you are going to comment on here and you're like, I work way more than 40 hours a week because I'm in the military. Nobody just works 40. Yes and no. I mean, yeah, you have longer hours, and if you're in the field or whatever, sure. But let's be honest, there's so much downtime in the military as well, where we're like, hurry up and wait, or twiddling our thumbs, or waiting on word, or whatever, where you're really not working. Like, you could work an 8-hour day and have 2 or 3 hours where you could be just sitting there reading a book, waiting on whatever the next thing is, you know, depending on your job and depending on where you're at. Like, reality is, yeah, you might work more hours, but you might also not be working during some of those hours that you're working. So it kind of buffers out, but 20 bucks an hour, $21 an hour, not amazing, but definitely not terrible. And that is before factoring in the fact that you are not paying for your, you know, that you would be paying a whole lot more for health insurance, dental insurance, life insurance, the room and board that is not factored in there because you're living in the barracks in this example, but you'd have to pay for that. So like, you'd have to make more to live the same lifestyle than what you are. And I've got a full video that breaks that down that we'll talk about in a minute. Now, the only other real variable here will be state and federal tax. So depending on what state you claim and then your federal tax, and you can change your withholdings on this a little bit, but you know, you may see a little bit different. I would also say you should be putting some money in your TSP. I've got videos on that as well. And so that would come out of your pay before you ever see it, but that's kind of beyond the scope of this video. And yeah, all the other benefits and intangibles, that's to kind of negate the like, we don't get paid enough comments that I know I'm going to get on this. Got a whole video that does a deep dive. Honestly, the way we get paid as service members that negates a large portion of our federal taxes and income taxes is very beneficial for us. So now let's just run through some basic expenses you can probably expect to see. I wrote some down here. So your phone, probably 80 to 100 bucks a month. Internet, depends on what you want, 80 bucks. Car payment between 150 to 250 a month. And again, I would not encourage you to go buy an expensive car. And if you don't need a car right away, I would say don't get a car right away. Gas between 50 and 100 bucks a month, probably not necessary depending on what you're buying. Weekend spending, so I just put between 300 and 600 bucks a month. I feel like if you spent 600 bucks on a weekend, you're probably trying a little too hard. And then, you know, if you chew or smoke or whatever, that's probably 50 bucks. Energy drinks, probably up to 100 bucks a month, because if you're anything like me, you probably drink one a day, and at $2 or $3 a day, that's like 90 bucks, 100 bucks, whatever. And then I put $200 in here as a miscellaneous budget for just whatever, right? You'll notice I did not put the food in there because I'm assuming you're going to be a good boy and go to the chow hall. But let's call that between $1,000 and $1,500 in monthly expenses, right? So that means that you could save like $1,500 bucks a month if you don't spend money on dumb shit, which is $18,000 a year, which goes a very long way. So it is very reasonable that if you pay yourself first and put money in your TSP right away and put some money in your savings account right away, you could save 10 grand in your first year if you really wanted to. Realistically, if you avoid the lifestyle creep and you avoid eating out all the time and you avoid a bunch of unnecessary expenses and you're smart with your money, in your first 4 years in service, it's very realistic that you would have 10 grand in the TSP, if not more, and $50,000 in savings. Realistically, you could probably be closer to 70,000, and that's not including any interest you earned on that time. That's just if it was like non-interest bearing 0% account, which is unrealistic. So like, it's very, very, very reasonable that you would have $50,000, $60,000 after your first 4 years set aside, which is a good like nest egg to then go use the VA loan after your 4 years, or you can just continue cranking that up over your time in service, and you can very quickly save and invest yourself to a very, very, very different net worth and income bracket. Just avoid overspending, focus on saving. Where you focus, your energy follows. So just be intentional about saving and investing some of this money and learning some of this stuff. Read my book. I'll drop a QR code right here for the No BS Guide to Military Life. It's everything I wish I'd known when I first joined the service. And I think that would be a really good spot for you to start and just kind of get your budgeting and your finances right. Because really, you can save a ton of money without sacrificing your lifestyle for a little bit and really set yourself up for success in the long run. I mean, this is really simple, guys. You got to avoid some poor spending habits, watching on the alcohol, the food, and the whatever. Like, just be careful where your money goes. You got to pay yourself first. So put money into an investment account, whether that's your TSP or a side one or both, right off the bat, and don't touch that. Just spend whatever's left over. Plan ahead and budget intelligently. So know where your money's going at the end of the month. Look and see where your money went and figure out where you can spend money a little bit different to save money. And then I'd love just engage. Just comment down below what some of your best money saving tactics and tips are and help other service members and vets, because realistically, service members and vets are very well positioned to be in a better financial position by 25 or 30 than 90% of people. We really do have a lot of advantages if we play our cards right and we benefit and we budget correctly and we use our VA loan and our other military benefits. You can be way better off because you won't have college debt. You can live for free with a house hack, and you can be saving and investing at a much earlier age. So I'd love to hear y'all's best tips and tricks. And I'd love to hear success stories. Like, we had a guy in the War Room Mastermind. He'd been in the military for 3 years. He'd saved $50,000 already. We had a guy who saved like 103 years because he got a $50,000 bonus as a sub guy. I've seen guys saving tens of thousands of dollars a year. It really can be done. And I'd love to help some of you guys get to a spot where you put a little bit of sacrifice aside. Now you've got some real solid benefits. And one of the really good ways to like visualize all this is that every $100 you save or invest when you're 18 is the equivalent of investing $800 at the age of 48. And that's just because of how compounding and interest rates work. So at a normal investment return, $100 invested when you're 18 is the equivalent of $800 if you waited until you're 48 to invest. So I don't know about you, I don't want to work 8 times harder to save and invest my way to retirement. If you can put money away now, right? We extrapolate that. $1,000 now is worth $8,000 when you're 48, right? So that's a whole difference, which, by the way, $8,000 when you're 48 is 16 when you're 58 and 32,000 when you're 68, right? So you realistically, we're talking like $1,000 a year right now equals $64,000 a year at retirement. So put $10,000 away, that's $640,000. 4 years of work or whatever, right? Like, the money goes a long way. So like every dollar you invest now is worth way, 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 way more and way more powerful than when you wait. And so I just encourage you to get started sooner rather than later. Okay, now for a way better and more deeper overview of how military pay and benefits are structured in general to help you out with the taxes and everything else and allowances, there's going to be a video that pops up right here, and I want you to go click on that and watch it. And in that video, I break down exactly how your pay and allowances are structured in order to benefit service members and give you a leg up with your same income as a civilian counterpart. Hope you got something out of this. Please subscribe, comment down below what you got, and I love you guys. Have a great day.